I'd just like to welcome everybody in the first instance, obviously, to our webinar on keeping your brand alive. We're very fortunate to be joined by Mel from Design Hive. The idea of this is to really talk about how we can keep communicating to make sure that people are aware of our businesses and our brand. We're going through some very interesting times at the moment in terms of the normal contact we would have with our customers. So Mel's going to give us some ideas and hints and tips on that, and then at the end we can kind of all come together and open the mic up and discuss different ways that we've been reacting to the situation in the past and go from there. So I'll hand over to Mel from Design Hive.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're kind of making the most of everything that's going on at the moment, but I'd just like to talk to you about a brand alive during this difficult time. But before I do that, I know at the end there's kind of a Q&A session, but we thought it'd be really good to open up the conversation to everybody. If you can put any ideas over on the messaging to Alistair, and then we could open it up at the end for those of you that maybe want to share any ideas that you've put in place already, anything that's worked for you. It'd be really great to kind of have a conversation and open it up to everyone. So firstly, I just want to talk about what is a brand, because not everybody knows the sort of specific term for it. So brand is the way a company, an organisation or an individual is perceived by those who experience it. It's more than just simply a name, a term, a design, a symbol. It's a recognisable feeling a product or business evokes. Brands live in the minds of everyone who experiences them, employees, investors, media, customers, but simply put, brands are perceptions. So hopefully that summarises that bit quickly for you. Your brand is your company's most valuable asset. I'll give you an example of a brand that lots of us know and love. Some of you may hate it, but I'm a pretty big fan of Apple around here, so I'll go with that one. So what is the Apple brand? So it's not computers or phones or any of the other sort of really cool stuff that we can't live without. Those are the products Apple manufactures. And it isn't the slick sort of TV adverts, the dramatic staged presentations or minimal looking shop fronts, which always look very, very cool. That's all kind of the marketing and the advertising side of things. Even Apple's name and logo doesn't encompass what we mean when we talk about the Apple brand. The Apple brand isn't anything in the true sense of the word. You can't hold it. You can't touch it, you can't hear it, but that doesn't mean its brand isn't the single most valuable thing that Apple owns. The reason the Apple brand is the reason you literally couldn't pay many Apple customers to use any other product, us being one of them. The forward-thinking, seamless experience of the Apple brand has become an integral part of devoted followers. For this reason, its brand is Apple's competitive advantage. Nothing else even comes close. A strong brand increases the chance of customers choosing your product and service over your competitors. These customers are happy to pay a little more and will buy a little more often. So what can your brand offer in this climate? So for many of us, these are desperate times, and this could make us behave differently. But it's more important than ever to keep consistency going and stick to our values and normal sales approach. Don't come across too salesy, that's really important. You're more likely to lose crucial long-term business if you go in hard and are not understanding towards your clients' needs. taking the right approach now could in fact propel your business forward in the long term, as customers decide who they're willing to stay with and leave during this difficult time. This is the time to take stock and work out what your brand can offer, not only businesses but also individuals. You will need to dip quite deep, so you need to ask yourself lots of questions. What are we good at? Who needs our help? What are their needs? When is the best time to offer your help? What impact will this have on your branding? What small changes can I make now that will keep your brand out there? So you could, for instance, put together like a little brainstorming map. So you could chuck every amazing or equally terrible idea down. Please don't put so much pressure on yourselves. There's no real wrong or right way to do this. We've all seen some of the biggest changes we've ever faced in our lifetime. But if you are still able to work, try not to miss out on the opportunities here. And I've got a little quote, which is quite a nice one. There is only one thing in life worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. So make the most of the time. So I have a little, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to share this with you. I'm just going to hold this up for you. I'm hoping that you're going to be able to see this. Hopefully you can all see that there. So here you've got your mission, your vision, your core values and your objectives, and they all lead to your purpose, which is in the center there. Okay, I would just take that down. And although we don't have time to write all these things today, they are really important and actually deserve some thought if you can put them in place. So then you can start kind of living these things out through your branding, your social media, your networking, the way you speak about your brand, the way you speak to your customers. Again, it's all about consistency. It will also help to plan towards your vision, your long-term vision. And if you already have these in place, why not revisit them and make sure that they still stand? So I put ours together probably a couple of years ago now, and they do take a considerable amount of thinking and time to put in place. But actually, they're really, really important. So maybe some tips for getting these done. Just start with, again, a blank sheet of paper, do some brainstorming, ask your friends, your family, your colleagues to contribute towards them. You know, your colleagues, often they're the people that actually know best. So very, very valuable. Go ahead and ask them. At this particular time, it's obviously it's really good to talk. This may seem extremely obvious, but I know lots of you will be working on your own if you have staff furloughed. But it's even more essential at this time than ever to keep in touch with your customers. So make sure you pick up the phone just to say hello, ask them how they are getting on. I've had some really, really good conversations with customers, and surprisingly, lots of them are busier than ever. It's really good to engage and just have a really sort of relaxed, informal chat with them. So make sure you keep in touch with them. I want to go on to sort of thinking outside the box a bit. So let's have a look at a few different things that you can do to keep things going. So your social media platforms. This is the perfect time to give social media more time, as there may not be another time when you'll have such a captive audience. People are spending more time browsing online. I was only talking to one of our customers yesterday who have devoted a lot of time to their social media platforms and are actually up by 20% on their sales from this time last year. That's absolutely incredible, and it proves that it does work. And there've already been lots of companies that have been testing this out, and people are online browsing at the moment, so it's a great time to get onto your social media. With social media, most people believe that social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter are useful in creating consumer engagement. The use of these platforms can, though, be ramped up to tell your brand story. So if you keep it real and genuine, you will get far more engagement. By using available tools to identify the reach and specific target audience, social media represents a powerful brand building component. A consistent message is the foundation of consumer brand awareness. Content should match your brand's image, both in tone as well as subject matter. Why don't you try, you can try using GIFs, polls, asking questions, running competitions. There's lots and lots of different ideas that you can put out there. But at this current time, it's really, really good to kind of try and be as genuine as you can be. So how about maybe going a bit old school? Why not try sending out a letter or postcard to key or regular customers? It's always nice and absolutely lovely to have a little surprise in the post. So try putting a smile on their faces, and obviously that keeps your brand out there again. Maybe even pop a little, say, spring offer on there. And then if we come into the digital marketing side of things, so I'm sure you've all heard of Joe Wicks, the body coach. He's become part of many families' lives at the moment, including ours. I have 2 small children here, and it's great at 9 o'clock to get them up and get them motivated. So I think basically by offering to coach us all from his lounge to our lounge, with live streaming, he has gained the respect of many parents, reaching almost 1 million views on YouTube. And he's also announced that advertising revenues raised will be going straight to the NHS. And there are, that's one example, but there are lots and lots of other examples, teachers, TV presenters giving free lessons using YouTube, Facebook Live, or through their own websites. Just about everything we did before lockdown is now available to us online, just like we're doing right now. There's even, things like ballet, opera, dance lessons, visiting animal parks. There's Easter hunts, all available online. I've even seen kind of one-man bands develop apps at some super quick speed, and put together videos to promote these as a way of supplementing their wage. This epidemic is pushing us to be more creative than ever. And with all the technology available to us, there has been never a better time to help keep your brand in people's minds. These people are not just pulling the nation together, but they are also keeping their brand alive more so than ever. And they have reacted very quickly and positively to a bad situation. Okay, so if we talk about planning ahead now, so what can you do over the next 3, 6, 12 months to get your brand where you want it to be by the time you are fully back to work? If you are anything like us, then you will struggle to find time to work on things like your website, your promotional materials during a normal working day. If you have more time now, set yourself some deadlines and get everything ticked off the list, or as much as you can. Deadlines are absolutely fantastic. If you're anything like me, if you haven't got a deadline, you think you've got all the time in the world. and you get to the end of the day and you think, oh my goodness me, I need to squeeze loads in now. But if you've got a deadline to work to, you just get on and get things done. So if you keep in mind that you're always needing to stay ahead of your competitors, use this time to check you are happy with your logo, maybe write some blogs, go out and take some photographs, perhaps for your website or a flyer or something like that. Put together social media imagery, maybe even ask customers to leave reviews. Google reviews or Facebook reviews. This is a great time to do little things like that. This is also a great time to write down why you think your business is unique. This is a question actually a lot of businesses struggle with, but all sort of part of really of your brand and your guidelines and things like that. Have a little think about why you truly are unique, because that can be a great sales tool going ahead. And why not ask your customers? Again, it's another great reason to actually pick up the phone and call your customers, a great excuse to talk to them. Why do they think you're unique? Why do they use you? I think it's a nice little one to get ticked off the list. Okay, so we'll go on to freebies now. So everybody loves the freebie. As you know, there are tons of freebies available to us online at this current time. But what could you perhaps offer? Could you do a talk, hold a seminar, be the host for an hour during a networking session? Could you make a how-to video? Could you volunteer? The list is endless, but if these are done with brand consistency in mind, then you are on the right path to keeping your brand alive. So looking at the bigger picture, branding involves long-term performance. Brand building efforts are not kind of overnight solutions. And developing brand awareness can require investments of time and finances. But over time, these efforts become powerful components of marketing campaigns, creating long-lasting recognition among target audiences. And just on a final note, no one really knows for sure what will work and what won't work for a company. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, to trial things, to test them, to tweak them. The biggest companies out there don't get it right first time. It's all about trialing things and tweaking them and tweaking them and tweaking them until you've got them right and finding what works for you. So that's the end of my little talk. So Alistair, if you kind of want to open it up, and I'd absolutely love to hear about what ideas you have come across, what's worked for you. That would be great to hear about those stories.
Sure, excellent. Thank you, Mel. There's some really good tips in there. I'll be making notes as we've been going. It's certainly, I like your line about a captive audience. I think that sort of reflects most of us at the moment, stuck where we're put, whether that be at work or at home. So yeah, so that rung some bells with me. Certainly, I think from a chamber point of view, obviously we've had to adapt very rapidly. Those of you that are members will know that we normally do about 70, 80 events a year, all of them physical. We moved an awful lot of stuff clearly online in terms of what we're able to do at the moment to engage with our audience and members and to support the business community across the whole county. So I think the free events and the webinars that we've been doing like this one, and thank you to you, Mel, for taking time out of your day as well to do this, have really hopefully helped the wider business community. So thank you, Mel.
That's okay, no problem.
I know that we've been doing a lot of work online, and that's reflected. I was looking at our event numbers this morning, and typically when we look at our event bookings month on month, our event bookings have gone up over the last month by over 30%. Those have been in response to the webinars that we've been doing to support businesses at this kind of crisis point. So they've been very well received. We've also been doing interviews with kind of key stakeholders, whether they be, I did one yesterday with a bank, a high street bank, on accessing the civils loan, one with a local councillor from Taunton or Somerset West and Taunton on accessing the grants that are available.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different ways that we're trying to engage online and put content out there for our members and the wider business community to see. Be quite interested to understand, in the same way that you have, Mel, and share ideas from others about what they've been up to as well. I don't know if anybody else has got anything they'd like to add here. Radio silence. all mics are on, so.
Sorry, it's Fran here. I just think it's a difficult time for everybody. But for me, it's looking to be more of a supporting role than a sales role. And it's a very fine line between saying to everyone, oh yeah, we're okay, we're fine, business as usual, and knowing so many businesses are struggling themselves. So it's just keeping that sort of saying, we're here, we're here for you, rather than being too salesy, sort of underpinning our brand and saying we're here to support you. And I think that's the line we're taking, informative, giving people links, and that's our approach rather than any form of sales. I don't know if that's the right approach.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the right approach. Absolutely. It is a funny time because these sort of times are I need to do something. You kind of feel like you need to be more salesy, but actually no. That the time is to kind of relax that and just, like you say, just be there for people, help people as much as you can, and definitely not go with the salesy approach, but to even more so be yourselves, but I suppose have a bit more of a caring approach to things, as much as you can. It's really difficult, isn't it? Because, like you say, you're not quite sure who's still fully going. Some people, this has been amazing for, and actually they're busier than ever, and then obviously other people have had to completely stop. So it's just adapting and then just having those chats, really, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Fine line.
I think those
absolutely right, Fran. From our point of view, we certainly spent quite a lot of time thinking about how our audience might feel. So if you were in a worst case scenario with your business is really struggling and potentially going under as a result of this, how are you going to feel about the message that we're putting out? So it's thinking about that audience. Nigel, sorry, did you want to?
Yes, no, I just want to completely endorse what both of you have said about it being non-salesy. We're a business mentoring company. We help companies across the UK in a variety of different areas, whether it be furloughing or civils or marketing, whatever it may be. And we've all agreed that we'll support the local business community completely free for April and May. Because without the local business community, we have no business ourselves in the future. So our calls at the moment are simply to try and help, and it's very genuine, which is hard to get across sometimes because there's so much noise out there. Yeah. You were saying there's a massive amount of noise, but for us, I just want to endorse what the guy said. It isn't sales at the moment. It's help everybody, keep everybody going. And the more we can help people get through, then the more chance we've all got to have a business in the future.
Yeah, that's a valid point, actually. But yeah, basically, without those businesses, we aren't businesses.
Exactly. So we just have to keep them going now, as much as we possibly can, whatever it takes, so that hopefully we can enjoy better times in the future. But without them, we don't have ones.
Yeah, very true.
And I would, it's interesting you talk about hi there, my name's Crystal. I come from a charity called Promise Works. So I'm not in my pajamas actually, but unfortunately can't see that.
This morning.
Yes, I did. Yes. No, I'm not actually. I got dressed just in the nick of time. So there we go. It's a treat. There we go. It's interesting to talk about the non-salesy thing, because I think part of our plan as a charity, we've sort of taken on 2 case holders. So I was one of the case holders for Taunton. We're a charity, we are a mentoring charity for children and young people from vulnerable and disadvantaged backgrounds. So part of our plan really for this year was to really recruit a lot more volunteers, especially in the Taunton and Bridgewater area. But I think at the moment it's interesting hearing what you're saying from a charity point of view. We are feeling that what our most important thing is to support our current mentoring relationships really, and keeping them going, because obviously a lot of the families our children and young people come from faced a lot of challenges of isolation anyway before this came along. So it's interesting, isn't it, talking about the social media. I've really tried to take a bit of a stance about a bit of a light-hearted. There's a lot of memes going around about lockdown, things like that. So it's about how you approach it, isn't it? So it's really, thank you very much for that. Your sort of webinar, because it's really useful. I'll take a lot from it. But yeah, I think it's really fair to say that we can't really do too much things about fundraising, or too much about recruiting volunteers. It's a bit of a fine line really, isn't it? Because I think because it's difficult to know when it's all going to end and when we can start trying to promote it, or it's quite tricky really in a way.
You're right. Actually, like funny enough, you're talking about children, and things are unfortunately can be terrible for children, but even more so at the moment. In terms of social media, I'm just going to bring my brother into this. So my brother, he has a little girl who is 4, she's nearly 5, and through social media, they've seen lots of things about fostering, and how times are really difficult at the moment for children that are at home all the time. And they've actually applied to foster a child through, basically just pushing things out on social media. That's all come just from that, which is quite amazing. Obviously, it's working. But I know that you had a question, I believe, that was sent through to me about blogs.
Yeah, well, me, was it, did I? Yes, I was, I think, yes. Did I send you a question? Oh, I can't remember that now. Sorry, I do apologise.
Yes, so from Brooke yesterday.
Right.
It just said, didn't say anything specific. It just said.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting. Because obviously, being part of a charity, we've got a board of trustees, and I have mentioned the idea of blogs. Because we've just launched a new website that we're still sort of tweaking as well as we're going. Yeah. And I said that it would be a really good time for us to start talking about blogs. We've been a charity for 2 years. I mean, for 3 years since 2017. But before that, we've been going for about 20 years. We've got a lot of knowledge, and we know that our mentoring scheme really works. So I think a blog would be a really great place to start talking about. But I think, obviously, so I was just wanting to sort of have advice about some blogs and what your views are on it, really. So sorry, I do apologise, I forgot about that.
So a blog like attached to your website is great, absolutely brilliant. I always recommend them. They're really, really good for SEO, so searchability, things like that. Absolutely amazing. I mean, the more blogs you can do, the problem is it's time consuming, so they're hard to get done. But the more that you can do, the better the searchability in the long run. So just a couple of points. Ideally, you want them to be, say, 300 words or more. And what you want to do is to throw a few more in that are much longer. And that's basically because Google believes that the longer the article, the more chance it has of having sort of real substance to it. Readability is really important, but it's very, very hard to get right. So Google likes sentences that ideally are no more than 20 words long, which actually is very hard to achieve. blogs are, you know, generally quite conversational. They're not complicated like white papers or sort of literary like masterpieces. They should kind of engage and entertain. The most important thing with blogs, I would say, is obviously to keep them interesting. The more interesting your blog is, the more engaging you are. The more engaged people are with your website, the more likely they are to trust you. And again, the more likely they are to trust you, the more likely they are to trust your business, etc. Are you using WordPress or something else?
Sorry, no, I don't. What's WordPress? I do apologise.
Oh, okay. We won't go into that bit then. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I'll leave that.
No,
that's
thank
yeah.
you very much. That's really useful. Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
That's all right. No problem.
I also have one question regarding social media, which is sort of the frequency, particularly in terms of Facebook and LinkedIn posts. And there seems to be people incessantly posting, which actually repels me a little bit.
Yes.
So I was just wondering what advice you would give in terms of the sort of frequency that you should be sending messages out.
Oh God, this is a difficult one. So, I mean, if you go by I suppose the rules or whatever, then it would be to post, say, you know, every day, 3 times a day. But actually, like you say, that I think you just don't see things. Depending on the business, that is, but I think if somebody is constantly posting and it's not engaging, you just don't see it. So we don't post, you know, we might post 2 or 3 times a week, and we'll try and sort of make them as engaging as we can. I personally wouldn't go too mad with it, but it's also, again, it's about how you feel. You know, it's about the business, you know, how much is going on in that business, so it's also very personal. But if you don't feel that it's right to be posting that often, then that's what you should stick with. Again, the same with the social media platforms. You know, we're sort of feel like we should be on everything and doing everything, but actually if you don't want to be on something, don't be on it. There's no point, and it will come across to viewers. So do what you sort of, your heart, I guess, your heart and your gut is telling you, would be my advice.
That's very, 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 very helpful, certainly, because there's people that I've followed and watched in the past, but now I seem to be getting, like you say, something 3 times a day, and I switch off. I completely switch off.
Yeah. I think if, you know, like Somerset Chamber, for instance, you know, that's a completely different thing. But, you know, for us sort of local businesses, too much is, it just drives you around the bend sometimes.
I think,
thank you very much.
Our strategy around this whole situation is to only put something out which actually is going to be useful and helpful to businesses. There's an awful lot out there. There's a heck of a lot of businesses that are trying to sort of be a credible route of news, and actually the news is out there if you want to go and find it. It seems to be a bit of a, you know, I must broadcast, and you know, that's sort of, in a way, the role of the chamber is to try and get that information and understand it, and then put it into a form that the business community can understand. Sometimes that makes our content a little bit dry, I think, and you know, we're working quite hard to try and make sure that we've got some personality, because we're all here, you know, working away and beavering away, and actually we have different things that are going on during the day, and we need to lighten up what we're putting out there to engage people. Otherwise it does, as you say, Nigel, just become a constant stream of the same thing that actually you do switch off to.
And I think you made a very good point. A lot of the information is out there, whether it be through government websites, through the chamber, and I was on a webinar, I think it was earlier this week, and all the person had done is regurgitate everything that you could already find anyway. There was nothing new, and they didn't even bring any personality to the presentation. So there was nothing of value added there.
It's really interesting and difficult. I mean, I'm certainly going to pay more attention to a post or an article from an accountancy on the tax implications of furloughing staff than I am from, I've got to be careful here, haven't I, a business that isn't related to tax or accountancy who are regurgitating that news.
Yes.
They're not actually adding anything there. All they're doing is copying and pasting, pushing it out there. What we found is really valuable is to get somebody who understands what that piece of information is, because that's what they've been doing all day long. And, you know, when you look at some of the webinars that we've done with, you know, nearly 100 people on one about furloughing staff, which was around the HR legal implications of furloughing staff, you know, that was with a legal lawyer, Kate Gardner from Clark Wilmot, and she pulled it apart and explained what all the bits meant. That's where the value is, not just copying and pasting.
I agree.
If you've got something to add, fine. If you've got something that is relevant to your area of expertise, yeah, absolutely. But the worst thing I think that you can do is just keep regurgitating stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Has anybody else got any questions before we wrap this up? I think we're all good. Okay. I'm going to say thank you very much, Melanie, from the Design Hive. If anybody has got any feedback on this, obviously we'd love to hear it. So feel free to drop Brooke a message. You probably will have got an email from Brooke to confirm the details of this webinar. So if you've got any feedback, please feel free to go back to Brooke. Just like to say thank you again, Mel, Design Hive, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you very much. Really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, thanks. Bye-bye.